Care. Bye-bye. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, it is 7:01. Let's see. Technically, we have quorum because 4 of the regular board members are on. And then we have guests on the call. So we can get started, if that's okay with everyone.
Great.
Okay. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the April meeting of the Traffic and Transportation Committee of the Community Board, District 8. I am Kelly Buford. I am the chair of the Traffic and Transportation Committee. On the call with me is Dan Paternak, who is the vice chair. Deborah Travis, Chris Calhoun,
Here.
and Mary Ellen Gibbs, who's the community member, and Sylvia Alexander.
Hi.
Hi, David Gelman had a conflict and extends his regrets, but we do have quorum and we can get started with the business of the meeting. Dan, could you, Deb, if you don't mind, can I ask you to serve as co-host?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you, Dan. Can you give Deb hosting access as well?
Yep.
Just in case something goes awry.
Gotcha. Done.
Thank you.
Yep.
I remind the community and the board members to please check the board website frequently. There are always updates posted about various closings within the community, street closings within the community, or traffic issues that may impact your moving around the district, and also in neighboring districts. So for example, we have frequent updates for the Henry Hudson project that is taking place, that New York State DOT is undergoing. So I just remind everyone of that, and to check in with the office if you have any concerns or you would like to be added to the mailing list. We do have a couple of items on the agenda to approve today for community members, and hopefully the individuals will join the call shortly. The chair's report, I've just rendered my chair's report. And if the individuals for the 2 CEQA requests are not on the call, I'm going to move the meeting agenda up so we can do the discussion of the budget items while we wait for the community members to join the call. Okay? Does that sit well with everyone?
Yeah.
Okay.
Fine with me.
Thank you. And then we can move on to the first item, the first ministerial item on the agenda, which is the approval of the minutes of the March 16 minutes. And I ask if anyone has any comments, any member, community board, traffic and transport committee member, I'm sorry, have any comments about the minutes, and if so, to direct them to me. Okay. Hearing no comments, then the minutes will stand approved as presented to the committee. Thank you, everyone. We can then move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the SAPO application for the North Riverdale Block Party as a representative from the Ms. Dana Williams, or a representative of the Riverdale Main Street Alliance on the call. Moving on then to the next item, and we can come back to that item. The next item, which is the request for Church Outside the Walls, Fordham Manor Church. Is there a representative from Fordham Manor Church on the call? Okay. That being said, then we can move on with the finalization of the proposed fiscal year 2025 capital and budget, capital and expense budget priorities. And each committee member received the draft of the prioritizations or requests for submission. And does anyone have any comments on those documents? Hi, Chris.
Hi,
And Mary Ellen.
I remember bringing up a point when we were in the preliminary stages of the budgetary wish list about the, I guess you'd call it the retaining wall that stretches from Irwin Avenue down in Kingsbridge along Riverdale Avenue up to about 235th, 236th Street. That it's beginning to get tagged with graffiti. And at the time I brought it up, there were 4 tags on it. Well, now there are about 9. And I don't see that. I guess that got dropped somehow, or maybe I don't know what happened to it. I just don't want the thing, that part of the neighborhood, which is a gateway to Riverdale. I don't want it to turn into, I don't know, for a better lack of words, a 1970s subway car.
Okay, understood. I believe when that initially came up, we indicated that that should be, go to the graffiti, for lack of the 311 measures, that there's a graffiti help desk or monitoring portal that they have for us to submit those requests.
Okay, understood. Now that you're bringing that up, it sounds vaguely familiar. You jogged my memory. But I guess I also thought maybe some sort of protective coating could be put on the wall, and that maybe that's why I wanted it in the budget, but I understand. Okay,
Okay,
I'm satisfied.
okay. We'll note the minutes of that, Chris, but my brief experience with the budgeting is that stuff like that, we can certainly try to put it on the list, but they typically kick it back out. So
I
don't-
thought with, I just seem to remember last year with things we put on the list, a lot of stuff got kicked out, and I thought this one was so simple, it might sneak in.
we can, I'll defer to the rest of the committee. We can add it to the list if you feel strongly about it, but we should really call into use the mechanism.
I'd like to hear what people's opinion of it are. Maybe they think it'd be a waste putting it on there, that I should go through the 311 genre, or maybe, I mean, there's some seasoned veterans on this committee, and maybe I'm way off base on this.
Dan or Deb, do you have any?
So Chris, are you talking about kind of like that shellac that they put on a wall that's supposed to kind of, if something does go on, it's easy to wipe off?
Yeah, that would just rinse off, because I don't know, and I don't want to take up a lot of our committee time here.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone, or maybe you do, know how historic that wall is. That's actually stone that was excavated, taken away from High Bridge, which happens to be the city's oldest bridge. It used to look like a Roman aqueduct all the way across until they put that steel arch in 1927, and they transferred the stones to build that wall. But putting that aside, I'm sure you can all appreciate just my concern. And I remember Kelly and whatever initially saying, come up with ideas. So of course, I walked around the neighborhood. I drove around the neighborhood from stem to stern, and that was one thing that caught my eye, and that's why I put it out there. I'm not holding on to it for dear life, but I'm putting it out there.
I can add that, so Washington's Walk has some stone walls as well. And so I worked with the Parks Department on those and had conversations with them about it. And that they said they don't put any of that shellac stuff that Dan's talking about. They don't do it on the stone because they found that it was flaking. And so it was kind of as bad as having the paint and the graffiti itself. It just looked bad. And so what they do instead is they have a power washing truck that is just high pressure, and then they just keep power washing it down. That said, they did come and power wash Washington's Walk at one point, and it was like they really needed to come 3 or 4 more times. Like it didn't all come off, but it does seem like that's what they do, is they just really keep power washing it, and then eventually all of the paint comes off the stone because the stone is just more solid.
Deb, do you remember, was that a budgetary request that was put in that time, or was it just calling?
It was just, they did it out of operating. They just have a truck, and it was just a matter of getting on the list for when it comes by. So I in that case, I organized it directly with the district manager for parks. Because this is a DOT structure, it might be something we have to ask DOT specifically about, but it should just come out. It should be stuff they already have, because everybody has to remove graffiti. You can't have it, right? So
No, I
May
know, you always see,
I don't know what schools do. Maybe Sylvia, do you know what the schools do when they have graffiti?
No, I don't, but I do recall that Eric mentioned that he was doing a cleanup of graffiti in one of his presentations to the board. I don't remember which one, but I think a call to his office might be a good idea.
Yeah, and then you just want to be careful because sometimes the graffiti
That-
removals, they just paint black paint
Right.
over it.
Right.
And so,
Right, and they ruin the whole look.
and they ruin the whole thing, yeah. So 'cause that's usually if they have the people who are in the workforce programs, they generally just come with black paint and paint over, but there is another section that has, at least with the parks, that has the power washers.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you. That's helpful, Deb.
Yeah.
So I guess what I will do then is I will reach out to Councilmember Dinowitz's office and ask them if they can explore cleaning up the graffiti on the retaining wall. Okay, Chris?
yes, that'd be great, unless anyone thinks this is ridiculous, and
No, it's
I
not.
wouldn't,
It's
my
not
feelings
ridiculous.
wouldn't.
It's not ridiculous at all.
Yeah.
It shouldn't happen to begin with. And I really wish there were a way for people to just, they had crews that went around and just cleaned it up naturally without, us having to go through this or anyone in the community having to go through this. So thank you. for the
So
rem-
Chris and Kelly, perhaps it's worth the board office emailing either state DOT or city DOT and seeing if they do in fact have any, chemical compounds that they do use across the city or state for stone specifically, because I'm sure there's, stone bridges, somewhere else that they've probably tended or dealt with this problem, and maybe they have some solutions for us. Because I do know, as Deb
No
said.
pun intended.
Yeah, right. But as Deb, like I know with buildings, I've seen before on, in other private capacity, it does take several washings to get graffiti out of stone.
Right.
But maybe DOT has seen this before, and maybe they have a chemical compound that they do work with.
Okay, thanks, Dan.
Mhm.
Okay. Anyone else have any comments or questions regarding the budgetary items?
Yeah,
I guess-
have my hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hands up.
Hold on. I see your hand, Mary Ellen. Hold on, before I move on to you. And I see Jody Cologne's hand is up also. Go ahead, Dan. Mary Ellen, go ahead.
On the list, the overpass,
Mhm.
35th Street, somehow it wound up down at 7 when it's been at 3 forever. And nobody decided on that at a meeting last week or the week before that was gonna move down to 7.
Well,
And that's
everyone was asked to provide their
I didn't finish my
input.
thing.
Everyone was asked to provide their input. So if it's down at 7, then that's based off of what the input I received. Okay, but finish your statement, please.
I was going to. Because I've had seniors come up to me and say, even during the interim, and I did write back that it should be put back there, but nobody responded, that there were a few seniors that came off there, they go, somebody's gonna get killed on that it's such a mess on there. And to me, that I'm still gonna fight for it. It's very important. Those were how the seniors get to the stores. I don't understand how I don't think that's such a low priority compared to what's on top of it.
Kelly, one thing, I just want to make sure I'm looking at the right thing. On the page that starts with Step Street maintenance, repair, aging, rebar. The title says capital, they both say capital, like,
One says expense and one says budget.
oh, got it, okay. But isn't one expense request and one's capital request? I thought one is like expense budget request and one's
Right,
capital
right,
budget
capital.
request.
It's been at 3 for a long time.
Okay, I can make that change.
Oh, yeah, okay, thank you. I just want to make sure I'm looking, so that's the expense stuff, okay.
Okay,
All right, so which do you want to hit up
Let's
first?
say
You
it's-
want to
It's,
start?
I think it, because, you know, if somebody does fall, like I brought up also at that corner at 230 8th Street and Riverdale Avenue, that people do cross there. There are crosswalks there, but there are no sign, no traffic signal there. And it's a hot mess, and it's just wait for somebody to get hit and killed. And somebody absolutely did get hit and got really hurt last week.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Excuse me? Did you say something, Mariella?
I don't feel like I'm being taken seriously. That's
You're
why-
being taken seriously, Mariella. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Deb, what were you going to ask?
Oh, I was just confirming if we wanted to start at capital or expense. It sounds like we're starting maybe in the capital side.
We can start at,
Either way is fine.
let's start at expense.
Okay.
Thank you. Jody Cologne.
I had my hand up to address Chris about the wall that used to be, and it's the 90s, because that was a big tag spot. And Deb did say what I was told by DOT and other parks and other people about the coding, that they don't use them anymore. But, and Mary Ellen, I waited 25 years for one of my things on the budget request to get funded, so hang in there. That's all. And then when you get to other step streets, I'll chime back in again.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Okay,
I mean, as far as the expense stuff, I think it's great to have the Marble Hill Step Street at the top there, and the Godwin Terrace ones. They've both, I think, been on the list for quite a bit, and they're in rough condition. And the West 238 one is my own personal favorite, just personally. And so it would be great to just get the railings replaced and just get it rebordered. Because the rats are starting to live under the stairs.
right. Okay,
On
And-
the Putnam Greenway connections piece, I think it's probably good to keep it on the list, but I don't think it needs to go up any higher because they seem to be doing that on their own. I was on the Harlem Greenway call yesterday.
okay,
And they're talking about kind of connections to the Putnam as part of those Harlem Greenway discussions that they're doing, Harlem River Greenway. Because
can-
it's part of that. So DOT seems to be already thinking about Greenway connections. So we might want to even think about putting the safe crossings on top of the Putnam Greenway stuff.
okay. Putting the safe crossings, but the safe crossings is already occurring within the district.
Oh,
If you
okay.
walk around the district, so it's already being addressed.
Okay.
So there are a number of those orange pylons where they're rehabbing all of the crosswalks to make them ADA compliant and things of that nature.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry. My video screen was covering that column. So I've seen that.
Excuse me, talking about video screens, am I supposed to be able to see this list? Because I can't.
Which list are there?
We're
there were two
using
li-
Dan, I'm gonna tell you, we're using the capital expense request list.
So there were two lists.
Do you want me
that
to
went
pull it
out.
up?
You
I've got
can,
it. I've got it open. I
if you
can-
have it open,
Yeah.
Deb, you can share it.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, I was looking at my own copy and I didn't realize it wasn't.
So that, yeah, I have like the same two lists that went out today. I just think that there's a typo on one of them and that I think they both have the FY 2025 capital, which is what I think Deb was saying before.
Right, that's what Deb was indicating. But the one that has expense in it is the one that we're speaking to now, Dan.
Step street maintenance.
This,
Yes, step street maintenance. Yes, not reconstruct streets. Street maintenance, yes.
Deb, is it possible to zoom in on your
Zoom in.
screen?
yeah, totally.
My eyes are going.
I hear you on that. Oops.
Yep.
There you go. Can you see everything?
Much better. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so
I think, yeah, the only question I had on this list was that last one, the school crossing guard. It's a newer one. Well, I guess it's
Yeah.
also a good one also. And it's
That's-
the same question I have on the other. Did we speak to, I guess, Ed about this one also? And
actually,
Sylvia?
Ed spoke to me, sent me a
Okay.
communication and asked the committee to consider it.
Perfect. That was it. That was my only
Okay.
question.
Yes, so
Okay.
He
that's fine.
also sent it to education.
Yeah, I feel like the school crossing guard one, it would be great to have it kind of between maybe 3 and 4. I don't know how, I know Dan's been advocating for the BX20 bus service for a long time, but I thought that this crossing guard one was already on our list someplace, but maybe it fell off last year.
I think we can move BX20 to the bottom. And Sylvia, what do you think about the crossing guards? You have more experience in this than most of us.
Well, they don't seem to want to pay for it, but I think we should keep going at it. They do need crossing guards.
Mhm.
There are many schools in that area and besides 95, so Lamb Park is there and there's some nursery schools there.
Mhm.
So it should have crossing guards. But OMB doesn't think so, so
I mean, we could
maybe we
swap
can
them.
get the money from Eric or something.
Mhm. We could swap 20 in the crossing guards if you guys would like.
I'm good with that.
Me too.
I think the
And we can actually move the-
crossing and the replace missing bench seat are actually not even really on this list. I think it.
Right.
I
They're
read
just
it
there.
as- Yeah,
They're just there to let individuals know that, this is what was going to happen with those, that one is in progress and the other, we're going to ask, work with the office to have a letter sent to put in a maintenance request.
Okay.
Right, so we can actually swap the highlighted item and move the bus service down to the bottom.
okay, that sounds great with me.
And also, Putnam Greenway, do we need to keep this on here or can we just? I don't think we need to keep that on there.
We need a, yeah,
We can get rid of it then. I'm okay with that.
So then we can put the bus service at number 5.
mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Yep,
So
that's
let's-
good. That's nice and even.
Right. Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Yep, and moving on to the next one. I gotta zoom in.
Yeah, a little more, Deb, a little more. Tired eyes, tired eyes.
Yep. Yeah, there we go.
Can you?
Yep.
Okay. Okay,
And it looks like maybe this one has a new one at the end as well. I'll just scroll down. at the
Yes,
end for a minute.
yes,
So this
Yes,
this is
that
Argus
also-
security cameras. Mhm.
yes, that was also a request from Ed Green.
Yeah. So Marshall and Tyndall. 230, I think Kingsbridge, 38 and Bayham Lane. Do we need one in or around Sedgwick? Like between, on the west side of the reservoir? I know we've had a lot of people, scoping around in our parking lot, but I don't know how bad it's been for folks on the street.
So where would you consider putting it?
I mean, based on kind of where the I guess it's not as bad as the north, the Sedgwick, kind of where he's describing here, like Gouverneur, I've seen cars up on blocks.
Right,
So for sure there, but that, like it's kind of, well, I mean, maybe it's not as
More
much of a deal.
Independence? Right,
Yeah, I was thinking like down by Port
Independence
Independence or
or Giles?
kind of in that area.
or Parat, or, okay.
But I haven't seen any cars on blocks or anything like that, the way I've seen in some of these other areas, so maybe it's not necessary. I mean, Dan, what do you see? Or, I mean, I guess Kelly, you're walking around in there too.
Which specific spot?
So on Sedgwick between 238 and like Reservoir, kind of,
Between Sedgwick between 238 and Reservoir, okay, yep. I can
or
picture
car
that.
theft pieces being like for all the catalytic converter theft, I think is what's been getting called out here.
I mean, there's always been break-ins over the years where you see the glass. I'm
Yeah,
not sure if they would have more between Fort Independence and Reservoir on Sedgwick than,
Right,
than anywhere else in general,
I
yeah.
mean, but there's definitely always a history of break-ins between 238th and Fort Independence. You'll always see broken glass on the floor, or occasionally you'll see it, I should say.
Mm-hmm. On the Reservoir side, right?
The Reservoir side, yeah. I mean, I think these locations that Ed highlighted are certainly definitely high activity spots.
Yeah, no, for sure. I don't have any trouble with any of these places that he's highlighted, because these are spots where you see broken glass all the time, or cars on blocks.
right.
So, okay, well, we start
Yeah.
with this.
I think if you were going to do a location and put one on, and I don't know because there's one about a block away, but you know, Fort Independence and Sedgwick to go each direction. But I know there's one right now on Fort Independence, right where the traffic light is.
That's true. Right, so it's kind of already one
There's
there.
one there.
But I mean, look, I'm never averse to more cameras. It's just a matter of wherever, you know, PD gets funding, and I think they generally look for the locations.
Right. I'm okay. I think I'm okay. I've talked myself into this being a more of a high priority list than that. So where would we want to put it in the list? We've got Step Streets, Kingsbridge Road, and then 2 more Step Streets. I know that Dan, you and Kelly and maybe Chris want to take pictures.
David, yeah.
No, I can't take credit for any of that.
David took pictures of
Oh,
the
David, that's right.
That was a Dan and Kelly production.
Did anybody's minds change about this order based on the pictures, or like what you saw?
Well, the Van Cortlandt Park Step Street is actually missing a lot of mortar, and it, you know, is susceptible to water getting in it, and not to mention vermin crawling out of it. So I think that one should be near the top of the list.
Yeah, well, and the retaining wall on the side is falling off.
Right.
Just a note, and then, you know, before order, the Kingsbridge Road, we have half of Kingsbridge Road. I don't know if we want to make a notation on that or handle that in another way, like maybe, not that we remove it from here, but maybe make a note that we reach out to CB7 and ask them if they'd like to do a joint letter to DOT. But we only have half of Kingsbridge.
Right.
That's a good idea. And then we can save a slot for something else, move something up higher on the list.
I mean, the 235th Street, we have standing water there. We've been having standing water, and that's an infrastructure, I think, issue that we've been told.
Yeah.
Is that the same location where the newer construction and they haven't built out their sidewalk?
It's not newer, but they haven't built out their sidewalk.
Yeah, it's a co-op building. It's been there for a while.
Okay.
It's
I'm trying
right
to think
across
of
the
the-
street from the Whitehall.
Yeah. It's I think the reason it ended up on our list was because the DEP needs to do work in addition to the sidewalk itself and curbing. So the building, the co-op would be responsible for the sidewalk, but there's the other extensive stuff that needs to be done because of the flooding. I mean, it's a muddy mess often.
Okay.
mean, we were thinking of removing resurfacing Kingsbridge Road completely, or just moving it further down and sharing it with somebody else.
I would say we should share it. I like the idea of reaching out to seven and doing a joint letter with seven, requesting DOT move that up. So we can move it down, way down on the list, because we can put it here where we'll say we'll send letter to send request to seven for letter to DOT, joint letter to DOT.
Okay, that sounds good.
Okay, so we can, that removes one of them. Okay. So the cameras,
I think I would put the cameras kind of higher, I think, just because of the amount of crime and stuff, they seem more pressing.
yeah, but the step streets, you know, we've
Have
been
they-
trying to get them done also. You know,
Maybe above Dickinson Avenue then? Between 6 and 7? Is that?
well, now it becomes 5 and 6 because we took out Kingsbridge Road.
Oh, yeah, okay. 'Cause I hear Mary Ellen about the pedestrian walkway. I think the step streets are really important. So I want to keep those up there if we can, and then
I agree with you.
that sidewalk on 235th would be really a big win to get in that place, so I wouldn't want to move that down, but so if I went between 235th sidewalk and, or I'm sorry, 235th pedestrian walkway and Dickinson, I think that would be.
Okay. So between F and G.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, that would be my vote.
That was moving up. So the resurfaced Kingsbridge goes down, which creates a slot.
Right,
Everything else shifts up.
right.
And then we're moving. What was the last move that we were doing?
We're putting the cameras between the pedestrian walkway, the 235th Street pedestrian walkway and Dickinson Avenue.
Gotcha.
Do you want me to scroll at all?
Yeah, I think we're up to the next ones, right?
Got after the Independence Avenue sidewalk, the Broadway corridor parking study, Independence Avenue Step Street, countdown clocks. And then this is being done with the maintenance letter. Okay, great.
Because the only question I have, and I don't remember the origin of it, and I don't know if I don't missed it or whatever, the corridor parking study, was the purpose to add additional commercial parking?
Yeah, the purpose was really two things. One was that the bid said that there were signs and things that were just kind of old and vestigial from businesses that used to be there. And that, you know, DOT just hadn't really reviewed parking, you know, the signs were the signs, even if the grocery store was no longer there and didn't need to load
No
it on.
standing from 9 to 5 or something like that?
Yeah, and then also just that, you know, we always talk about parking. What do we do about it? Is that kind of like, you know, this is where we know we have this intense need and a lot of double parking. And, you know, to actually do a study of saying, how can we optimize parking for, I mean, even like, can we build a municipal parking? I mean, I know there used to be, this is the thing I don't actually, and you would know the history better than I know there used to be a municipal parking lot down
There
there
was.
someplace, and that was sold.
It's where the new mall is between 230th and 231st. That was a municipal lot, and that's where the post office used to park all of their trucks.
Right.
Huge lot that was open to the public.
But that was the impetus of this, was to say, is there a way we can at least study this so that we can understand where the need is and where, because, you know, the DOT's got their loading zones and they've
Mhm.
got all this stuff that they're doing.
So I
around-
think I whenever like I think of DOT and parking these days, I know that they tend to remove it, and that's always my concern with DOT in the present structure. I think this would actually make an excellent project for CB members next year, or maybe over the summer, to just kind of walk the corridor and see if any members or the committee can come up with some ideas as well to give to DOT.
So you're suggesting we table it until,
I mean, I always love the inclusion of commercial parking. I don't know what they're gonna do with it. And, you know, to any members who are on TNT, we got an email recently from Chuck saying that there's gonna be an application for some sort of rezoning in that area.
Hmm,
We have no idea what it is, though.
interesting.
Just that the applicant, you know, should be coming in June to at least give us a heads up, you know, on what it is that, you know, they have coming down pike. But for this, I mean, I would say if anything, to kind of move it down and then maybe take the initiative. Because look, DOT is not going to see this request for a while anyway, but maybe by the time, you know, September rolls around, we do have something to give to DOT. And if there are like different, I don't know, signs that we could put up, maybe we can just, you know, suggest to DOT, hey, can you change the signing here? And then maybe tighten this request up a little bit with maybe a location for additional commercial parking.
okay,
So I'm not saying nix it. I would just say, you know, maybe some of these other things are a little bit more important. And then
right.
we come back and tighten this up after we do a project over the summer or something.
I
Right.
like that idea, because if you leave it up to DOT, they'll just, well, you fill in the blank it up.
Right. Okay. So you,
Move Independence Ave, Step Street maybe up, and then Broadway corridor down below the countdown clocks.
yeah, I would put
Yeah,
that
I think that
behind the
works.
countdown clocks.
And then I'm more than willing to go with Deb, you and anybody other members who want to go. We'll walk the corridor one day, pick a weekend day and just kind of walk it.
It's getting nicer, so
It is.
that's something we can do.
Mhm. Mhm.
I would say this weekend, but it's supposed to be nasty.
Yeah.
Saturday. Okay,
And we have until, you know, September, October before the final one goes out to the
Yeah.
board.
okay, great.
And Kelly, have you heard anything about bike lanes in the Broadway corridor?
I have not.
Because it's in the, you know, the ULURP for the school. They mention it kind of casually.
Right,
And it does seem to, it just seems like it keeps coming up kind of in the margins.
Which
Right.
school is that?
But I don't have any detail about it, you know. It's like,
Deb,
it seems
is
like
that-
connected a little bit to the Broadway Bridge project.
what school? Sylvia is asking what school. And Jody, I see you in-
On the school on the visitation site, you know, when they were,
Oh,
they
okay.
presented the ULURP for that, there's like a mention just casually in that,
Thank you.
yeah.
are you back inside, Jody?
Yes, I'm back inside. Hi. Dan, I heard a rumor many months ago
Yep.
that the rezoning was about still some M1 districts that they can't put residential in. So that was a
there
rumor I
are.
heard about that. And then for your parking study, I might be curious to check whether, what is it called, River Crossing, where Aldi's is, whether that parking lot is at capacity. I'm not sure how much used it is. And then way at the bottom is the Step Street. So every time we talk about this, I'm like, it's worse than I thought. So the Bradley Terrace Step Street does have rusted out railings. I tested them. They're not loose, but It is a highly trafficked staircase because it leads to Metro North.
Right, I'm
Um,
familiar with that.
Yeah, so I just want to make that pitch again, and there are more pavers now that some are out. I don't know if people are prying them out. And again, with all these step streets, some of these have beautiful cobblestone sides and, you know, hex pavers, and I just want to make sure that we have some control or say, and that DOT is not just putting horrible, quick concrete. You know, some of them are stone steps. They're really part of the character of the community. And I'm not sure if there's design standards that once one of these gets funded, we could have them be more beautiful than just a concrete stair.
Well, it seems like it would be a capital project, Kelly. I see you've got a note about sending maintenance letters. So I'm sure you've talked to DOT about it, and they said they could do it under operating. Is that
Right, yes.
cool? I mean, that would
Right,
be
but DOT's response for the Bradley Step Street one, which a DOT staff did tell me, was they were just gonna concrete it all and not do the pavers
Oh, I see.
on their operation budget. And I emailed interim commissioner Kalb and like, please don't do that. He never replied to me, but and Kira did, I think, send an email about it before she left. So that's what I'm just concerned about, is if we're saying these things, they're gonna slip in and do some things that were not quite what we imagined. Okay, that's it. I said my piece. This way I don't feel like I forgot. Thank you, Kelly.
You're welcome, thank you. Okay, so I'm going to read through the order that I have and ask that you all keep me honest here on this one. So A remains the same as 1, correct?
Yep.
B, we're taking off and we're moving it to the bottom, and we're doing a reach out to CB7, a joint letter to DOT.
Correct.
The 229 Step Street is becoming item 2, being ranked item as 2.
Mhm.
The 231 Step Street will become 3.
Mhm.
235 Sidewalk will become 4.
Yep.
235 Pedestrian Walkway will become 5.
Yep.
The joint public safety cameras will become 6.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Dickinson 7.
Mhm.
Independence Avenue Sidewalk 8.
Mhm.
Independence Avenue Step Street 9.
Yep.
The countdown clock becomes 10. And the parking study, we're moving to behind the countdown clock. We're making that 11, right? We're going to-
Maybe the parking study is below Kingsbridge Road. Maybe it's countdown clock, Kingsbridge Road parking study.
Mhm.
And I wanted to just raise, just because it came up last month in the park side of the house, and I feel like, Dan, you might know something about this already from the past, is the paper street on the side of Brust Park. Kelly's been involved with some of these email chains.
Yep.
You know, the building has been completed, or is almost completed. The construction's still happening, but it's got its exterior shape now. And the Friends of Brust Park have been just working with the board office to understand options for maintaining the right of way.
Yeah.
Do you know, like, is it feasible to think about like adding step streets or anything in this area? Is it, you know, I think their first preference would be just to add it to Brust Park, but I think that may be pretty complicated. I'm not sure Parks even wants it, and will require a ULURP, as far as I can tell.
Mhm.
Have you investigated this already, or, you know?
We've never investigated doing a step street there, in that path.
Okay.
I think their bigger concern, you know, is essentially that cars are going to drive up to the back of their building.
Yeah.
And that's what they don't want. And right now, there's nothing indicating that, DOT is actually going to open it up to be a street.
Yeah, no, I don't think the DOT would open it. It doesn't seem like they want to do that, and it's quite steep pretty quickly.
Yep.
Um,
I think the issue that will arise is like right now, cars do drive up and like park on the side there, for the building that's present. And once they start occupying the 3893, whether or not folks drive up there anyway, we'll see, like illegally,
Right,
but it is technically a sidewalk.
right.
I don't know if it's helpful to suggest that we do anything with that.
Okay, I'll leave it alone then. So I think we have our order.
Okay. And we're okay with the 235th Street sidewalk and pedestrian walkway keeping that order, correct?
Yeah,
Or do we want to flop?
I think that the sidewalk, I'll say, I think the sidewalk is a little bit more important because of the amount of water that sits there. I don't know how Chris or Dan feel. I know Mary Ellen thinks it's important for sure to move the pedestrian walkway up.
I have no objection to moving it up.
I don't have an objection either.
Okay, so then we'll flop those two. Okay,
Sure.
this becomes the walkway, the sidewalk becomes 5 and the walkway becomes 4.
Yep.
Okay.
And
Thank
then one thing that's missing is just titles. Oh, I guess that's the request at the request column will become the title for some of the, oh no, that's different. Some of these will just need titles, like some of them have it, like resurface Kingsbridge Road.
Oh, okay, I got you.
Yeah.
I'm like titles, huh? Okay, thank you. Right, because these were the step streets that they told us we had to split up because they didn't have any, they wanted us to do it geographically and we told them that it didn't make sense to do it that way. Okay, perfect.
They wanted to reject them all at once, but as a region.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
then we can move back up the agenda. And are the representatives from North River for the North Riverdale Block Party on the call?
Yes, Johanna Edmondson.
Joanna Edmondson?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So we're proposing to have a block party at the Riverdale Avenue. We did this last year, and it was a very successful community event that it was a free event where we actually, I'm sorry?
No, you're fine.
Okay, so it was a very successful community event where we had many of the businesses also participate here. From Carlos and Gabby's, Yucca Restaurant, the Skyview Mall was also a big participant. And of course, across the street here. DOT approved us to have the sidewalk closed and the side streets were also available for us to use. Now, this time we like to actually close the entire avenue. We're actually from 259th Street all the way to, I believe it's 260th. And this time around, we would have the MTA, the buses, to stop at 259th Street and reroute them to the other direction. We do have approval of the City Council, Mr. Eric Dinowitz, and of course, Jeffrey Dinowitz in support. Any questions?
Sorry, I'm speaking, I'm on mute. I don't have any questions. Does any committee member have questions for Ms. Edmondson?
Let me put my hand up.
I don't see a hand.
I
Now
do.
I see a hand. Now I
Now I
see
do. Now I do.
it. Go ahead.
Johanna, yeah, that was, it was a real, it's not a question, but it was really, really good event last year.
Thank you.
And yeah, if you remember, me, we were from the women's event.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, it was very, very good, and I definitely do support it. I think it would be great even like to close off the street because there was so many people there. It would give more room to the event, and like a lot of kids and adults and everybody had a great time, and it gives a lot of exposure to the restaurants and the new businesses because there's so many new businesses up there, and it lets everybody see what's up there. So I definitely support it, and thank you, Joanne, for having again this year.
Oh, you're very welcome. We're happy to come together as a community because it's not only myself. There's many here that are being supported. Of course, we're doing it with the Riverdale Mainstream Alliance. They are also running this. So we're happy to do it again. And of course, with even more success to continue to promote and support these businesses that are also coming up. I know that we have a new restaurant coming up. Again, I don't want to give too much information, but we do have another restaurant that's coming up in the Riverdale Avenue. And we have the Healthier Dykeman that is new to the community and a new spa. So what better way to support them and embrace them here in this community.
Thank you. Chris Calhoun, followed by Dan Paternet.
Yeah, the only question I had, and I'm familiar with this event, it is a very successful event, so I do concur with Mary Ellen on that, is, did you say the buses would be rerouted? And if so, where? I can't imagine where they'd go. Or would they terminate at right before the street closure? That's what I was unclear about.
So this event, this has been done in the past, where they actually reroute the buses. I believe they will end right before the gas station, and that's where they will end, as opposed to going all the way down Riverdale Avenue. I don't have the full logistics of it at this time because I do have to work with the DOT like I did the last time, because we did have the buses go through. But I think we have so many children in that event that we'd rather be safe for them to go, back and forth across the street without any concerns or reservations with any cars passing by. So that's why we're interested in having the buses rerouted for that day. And it's been done before, so it's only a matter of get the approval of CBA.
Thank you, Chris. Dan?
Hi, Johanna. How are you?
Hey.
Good. I don't think there's any question about, this being a great event. It is. It's always good to have these festivals within the community. It's logistics and just kind of a couple basic questions so that we understand what's the time of the event? What time do you plan on closing the street down?
Well, last year it was from 10 to 5. So we're hoping we have the same time range.
Yep. Is 10 to 5 the time of the festival, or is 10 to 5 the street closure?
The time of the festival. We usually set up early. We'll be here around 8 a.m. setting up the tables, connecting with the community, and then we'll start around 10 a.m. And we have, of course, a few things happening inside the event, which is we had last year, the dog parade. We're having Zumba, salsa lessons, ice cream trucks, and things like that would be participating in that event.
Okay, so you're looking at a closure of 8 a.m. till 6 p.m. Okay, so 5 p.m. the event ends, the street opens at the same time.
Correct.
Okay, so the second question is, on each of these things, you guys need a 15-foot emergency lane. Where do you guys see putting that?
We would have to look again, what the DOT allows us and where would they permit that? I would assume.
Yeah, so part of it's going to be a plan that you guys present to DOT, and it's going to be one of the requirements that they have for it.
Okay.
And it's either going to be on one of the sides of the streets, which I think when they did this once before in my time on the board.
Yeah.
And after the first year of when they did it, there were some issues that happened the first year. So after that, they started doing like half the street when they did this festival again. When they
Mm.
did a full street closure, I think what they did was keep it on the far left, if I remember correctly, closer to the Skyview lot. And that was their emergency lane where they would keep it because nothing can be, within that lane. So that's why I'm asking you the question so we know it.
So then I would
But you're
have,
not sure yet.
I'm not sure yet, because once we submitted it to the DOT, then they will approve it. Even though we say we're gonna use the left side or the right side, then it has to be approved by them to see logistically, to see if it's possible due to the traffic and the buses. But again, we would probably suggest the left side.
Okay, so the next question I have is rerouting traffic. And this isn't, and we'll get to the buses in a moment, which is another logistical concern, but just regular traffic. If you're gonna close traffic out on,
Yes.
I guess, 259, and then I'm guessing on 256,
Because it goes.
or are you
Right.
gonna push it up to 259 and make people turn around there?
It's just one block we're going to be using. So the block between Key Food and the steakhouse. We're just
Between
taking one
Key-
Key
oh.
Food. Yeah, the Key Food supermarket all the way down to the steakhouse.
Okay, so essentially, it's the end of the Skyview Shopping Center, right?
Correct. Yes.
Roughly?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So if you guys have barricades there, then car traffic will be able to
Correct.
come up to that point, and then I
Yeah.
guess make a U-turn at the barricades.
Correct. And if they needed to exit, going to say, the Skyview, they can go into where the STAR school is at and at least have that entrance in and out.
Understood. So with the traffic being blocked off, and one of the things that we have, whenever we have full block festivals, what notice is going to be put out, to kind of inform the community about the street closures? Have
We
you
would-
guys figured that one out?
Yes, we will have 50th precinct. They would post on the trees and lampposts in the area that the street will be closed between this time and that time on such a date.
Has the
So
50th agreed to do that, or are they asking the applicant to do it?
the 50th themselves, they did it last year. They came and they would dispatch the community affairs officer to put it post around the post, but no, they did it themselves.
Okay, and then just the last question is going to be the buses. Chris pointed it out. Logistics for buses. Have you spoken to the MTA yet?
No, we are still working with the DOT for now. And the
So
MTA,
understood, the DOT, yeah, the DOT is one aspect of it. The MTA, are you expecting DOT to speak to the MTA for you?
no, we will be talking to the MTA, but now because we are just still working, just at the beginning, we are just trying to get the approval from DOT, CBA, and of course, I'm sure the MTA will be our next step. We did not do the MTA last year. So
Yeah,
that,
because you didn't need it, right? The buses just
Correct.
kept going.
correct.
So I guess my next, and I just don't have the notice in front of me. When is the event?
This is
June 11th.
June 11th.
So that's I guess a quick timeline. You're looking at, I don't know, 6-7 weeks to get, I guess, the approval here, and then I guess the approvals of the agencies, and then put the event together, right?
Yes,
So our next board meeting where we're going to present this is going to be on, I guess, what would that date be? And somebody else can help me. It's the second Tuesday, whatever that might be. I think that's May 9 would be our board meeting, I think. So assuming like we put this through tonight, then the board's going to speak on it on May 9. And, we may or may not get some of these questions. Is it, assuming the committee puts this through tonight and assuming the committee, just basically says, we just need to see some of these things addressed?
yes.
Do you think you'll have answers by May 9? And to be honest, the two big things I'm looking for, Chris pointed out, which is how the heck are these buses going to turn around?
Well, it's
and
been
then
done, yeah.
So when they did it before, and I'm trying to remember how they did it. I don't know. I remember just at one point there was an MTA bus going through the Skyview Shopping Center. Now, I don't remember which way they ran it, and maybe Bob Bender, you might remember. But I guess that's one big question, is how the MTA is going to do it. And then the second big question, at least for me individually, is going to be, that 15-foot access lane, just making sure you guys have placement for it.
Okay.
And I don't know what the other members have, but I guess me personally, as an individual member, that's the two things that when it comes to the full board on May 9th, that you guys have answers for us, that you could at least like email to the board or something and say, hey, this is what our MTA plan is. And yeah, our 15-foot emergency access is here. And that's all I have. Thank you. And thank you for putting this event together. I know it's a lot of work. And again, I think it's going to be a great event.
Oh, thank you so very much. And yeah, and again, this is the community. It's not only myself driving this, it's a lot of us put together to make this a great event.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Sylvia Alexander.
Yeah, Joanne, I've not been to your function, but I plan to do that this year. I just want to clarify as far as the time frame is concerned. You said that it would be closing at 5. However, on the application, it says 8 o'clock breakdown. So which is the one that's going to open up the street?
Where it's gonna be 5 o'clock, we're gonna open up the street.
So the breakdown that's on the application is incorrect.
Well, that's when we're gonna be cleaning up. We start organizing and everything.
But are
because
you
we need to.
gonna have the traffic through while you're organizing?
We're going to be, the breakdown is basically, we put all the tables away.
Yeah.
and-
No, I'm familiar with that.
Yeah,
Okay. Thank you.
you're welcome.
Okay, does any other, Miss Sylvia, are you finished?
Yes, I am. I'm trying to lower my hand.
Okay, thank you. Does any other committee member have a question? Does any community member have a question? Jody Cologne?
Of course. For the Johnson Avenue Riverdale Y Sunday Market, I tabled there, and even though there were no parking signs, there were cars parked on both sides of the street, and it was really tight. So is there a mechanism for, if people are parked there and don't move, is that going to interfere with the event or with the fire lane? Because it did on Johnson Avenue.
So so the 50th precinct, once they post the closing of no street parking that day, we're hoping that there wouldn't be anyone parked in the street side. Now, if there is a car that is parked in the area, I'm hoping there is no towing that has to happen. But of course, we're hoping that they will move their car, during that time early. So it doesn't interfere with the block party.
And that was what the hope was too, and it didn't happen. It was as if it was as if it was a regular parking day. So
Interesting.
yeah, so I just wanted to point that out. NYPD did not tow, and because there were box trucks from farmers, I was tabling kind of like in the middle of the road that people had to walk around me. So just be aware of that. I don't know if there's anything the community board can do to help you with that, or the PD, but it was a problem on Johnson's a little narrower, but still.
Okay. Well, last year, we were here early, so we were able to even use our have the community put some cones in the area to avoid any parking after a certain time. So, and also reminding the people in the area that there was going to be a block party. And all the businesses also were alerted that the block party is going to happen this day, and to remind their customers not to park in front.
Great, thanks.
Mary Ellen Gibbs.
Yeah, the original block party that was on Johnson Avenue, they had no problem with the parking. The reason why they had problems, because I live around the corner, the reason why they did have problems the last time they had the block party was there was a really big storm the night before. It was raining really heavy and heavy winds, and a lot of those parking signs got blown away. So that was part of that reason for that. So I don't think it'll
Yeah,
be-
they were still up when I was there, so I don't know, Mary Ellen. This was April 2nd, so.
Yeah, I know,
there
I was
were-
there, I see.
yeah.
They put them back up afterwards, because I seen it, because I leave really early in the morning, and they were down, so I did see it.
Okay, so committee, thank you, Mary Ellen. Committee members, how would you like to proceed with this request, please?
So
I motion to
Kelly,
vote.
I am.
Kelly,
I'm
oh, I'm
approving-
sorry.
I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I cut you off. I was gonna say, but go ahead. No.
I am in,
Oy.
Mary Ellen, you need to say something? Because
Yeah,
I
I
have.
did,
the floor.
I motioned that we take a vote.
I have the floor right now. Thank you.
Okay.
I am in favor of the event. However, I am not in favor of shutting the street off to vehicular traffic. I think if they did it as it was last year, that is my opinion. And that was my opinion prior to the meeting. And I haven't heard anything that would help me change my position on that. Dan? Did you have some?
Yeah, I think that the event should be approved as well. I do have, those are my two concerns are basically just the MTA and just having an emergency, that there's an adequate plan for the buses. And that there be that 15-foot emergency lane that we know exactly where it's going to be beforehand. I guess just my concern is, when would we be able to see that plan for the buses?
I'm hoping by May 9th, the next board meeting, we would
We would-
have more information.
We would need it in advance of May 9th, though.
Yes, okay,
you
so-
can't just give it to us on the day of the board meeting.
Correct. So I'll make sure that we start that as soon as possible so we can get some, some information, more logistics about the MTA and how we would work the traffic through.
Okay. And would you be able to have your target date of May 2nd to give us a response?
Yes, May 2nd, definitely, it's sounds good.
Does anyone else have any other committee member have a question? Okay. So Dan, can you put that into a motion for me, please?
I could. I mean, we could do it one way or the
One-
other. We could
Mhm.
do it, yeah, and I ask, and I guess it's up to the committee members, assuming everybody has concerns, and I don't know that they do, but as the chair suggests, we could approve the festival with a half street or not a full street, or we approve it with, the permit as requested, subject to an adequate traffic plan, including bus routing, by May 2nd. And I guess, you can craft the resolution going either way. I think what we're getting to no matter what is, we'd like to see the event happen. We certainly approve the event itself, but we need to see how the traffic is going to be routed with a full street closure. So I guess the question is, which way do you go with it? And either way, accomplishes the same goal, I think. Because it's going to come to the board on May 9.
I choose choice.
And
Chris, are you
I
speaking?
choose number two. Yeah, I just wanted to say to Dan, choose choice number 2.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, what was that?
Are you
I
saying point
choose-
number 2?
I go with choice number 2, the way you phrased it. That we approve it subject to those 2 provisions
yeah, I
are
agree.
forthcoming.
I say this, the number 2 also.
And I would just, while the applicant's there, and I think, Johanna, you're hearing us, it's, this is going to go to the full board on May 9th. So like, there's going to be a committee approval tonight, but that's not really the community board approval. The
Correct.
community board approval is May 9th, and that's when you're really going to get something official from community board 8.
Yes.
So I think what the committee is saying is, this is going to come up, and, Kelly's going to have a traffic plan from you to send to the members that we're going to speak about at that board meeting, or there's not going to be a traffic plan. And
at that point, the board members will discuss, what the current application looks like and make a decision that evening.
Okay,
But I would certainly make that motion, Kelly. We approve it subject to an adequate traffic plan for those two conditions, meaning a
The
full,
fire lane and the buses. plans for-
correct.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Yes, I'll second it.
Does anyone oppose the motion that's on the floor? Okay, hearing nothing, the motion carries. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Everyone.
thank you.
Welcome. Thank you, Joanna. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, our pleasure. Are the representatives from, I don't see them, Fordham Manor Church on the call? Okay, I don't hear anything from, I don't see them on here. We can table this matter until next month to see if the applicants show up at that time. Does
Okay.
anyone have any objection to that? The event is July 2nd, so putting it on the agenda for the May meeting.
Sounds good.
Yep.
Because I believe the applicant should be before us before we speak to it. Okay. Is there any old business that anyone would like to raise this evening?
Nope.
Any new business?
Can I bring something up that it's curious to me? I get a publication called The City. I don't know if it's a newspaper or a magazine, and I don't even know how I receive it. But they had an article about the car share in Community Board 10. They were up in arms, and because they rallied and sent letters and all kinds of things, they had their allotment cut in half. And I wondered what happened to our objections to what was presented to us. Did we ever get an answer, or where do we stand? If you know.
We stand, the last I heard was that they approved 4 of the 5 sites, that they were going to have 4 of the 5 sites there, and then they added 2 more sites, and that the project was going forward.
So they didn't answer our questions or
No,
our objections?
they listened, they answered our objections in that they removed a couple, 2 of the initial sites that they proposed to us, but then they replaced them with 2 additional sites.
I see. So we didn't win anything. Okay. I guess that's water under the bridge.
It's never water under the bridge. We can certainly continue to monitor and send a letter and make sure that they hear us.
Yeah, have they started to designate the corners like they said they were going to, or?
I cannot say, I have not been to those areas, so I don't know, and I don't want to opine.
Okay, all right.
Jody Cologne. Thank you, Ms. Sylvia.
Thank you, Sylvia. I sent this to Assemblyman Dinowitz. It's kind of curious that DOT told us that they were capped at the $400 and whatever for 2 spaces per year because it was an administrative thing. But at the same time, they're currently working to have the outdoor dining sheds that take up street parking pay thousands of dollars to have those 2 parking spaces, because they're saying that those parking spaces are valuable and they're going to be generating income from it. So why doesn't that apply to Zipcar and these other car share programs? How could it be okay for one commercial business to get a freebie ride and the others have to pay? So that may be a tactic to try with using the buzzword of the year, equity. So I just want to let you know that I did bring that to his attention, and he said, good question.
And I
That's
don't know,
interesting.
have they installed them yet? And I don't know, I haven't looked at the
I
locations.
don't know.
I haven't followed it up either, but
haven't looked
I
at
will.
I mean, I can certainly pull out the locations and do
Yeah,
a
yeah, I
drive-through.
could drive by at some point, or if other
Yeah.
members are around, we can at least check it out and see.
Just interestingly, the community board 10 said that they should put it on private property since they are private companies.
Mhm.
And of course, nobody bought that one.
As I recall, Sylvia, we didn't say anything on this because we didn't have a timeline, right? Was that the one where they
Yes.
didn't want
mhm.
to?
It was
Is that
just
the same
thrown
one?
out at us, a presentation, and we expressed our concerns, and then they went away. And if I hadn't seen that article, I wouldn't even question it, but
Well, we
now
could
that
certainly
I-
raise it next month as an issue and, assuming nothing has been done, maybe make a statement to DOT.
Okay. But I totally agree with Ms. Cologne.
Thank
Sounds very strange.
Yeah, lots sound strange around the city these days.
That's true.
Any other old business?
Actually, can I just ask, the James Baldwin Outdoor Learning Center has a farmer's market, and usually about this time of year, we're reviewing their SAPO request. Have they put in an application, or we have heard anything from them?
I have not seen anything for that.
Are they in peril then? Because I think they're supposed to start like mid-June. They still, because the last board meeting is really late this year, so.
Mhm. Unless it went to another committee?
Is that the one by Marshall Avenue?
Yeah.
No, it's by Marshall Parkway, not
That's what I
I'm
Avenue.
meant.
sorry, yeah.
That's what I meant. I
Marshall
meant Marshall Parkway when I said
Yeah,
Avenue.
Clinton.
I haven't
We could
seen
cer-
anything.
Yeah, we can
Okay.
ask the board office if it's coming in. If not, we could always reach out to the folks over there.
Yeah, I sent an email to Ray and he said he'd gotten something in, but he hadn't heard anything about coming to the community board. He was gonna check in, but I don't know what happened after that, so. I expected it might come on last minute.
Okay.
But I'm right that, or correct in that if he waits until he comes in May, he's not gonna be able to get a full board. Does he need a full board approval for a SAPO? He
Yep.
does, right?
Yes,
So he should,
Well,
yeah, if he's gonna
you-
start in June, yeah.
we can consider changing the date of the May meeting.
I don't think it's
Kel-
us, though. It's the full board meeting is the last week of June.
No, and the May meeting, if we change the date of the meeting to
Oh, to be earlier.
Prior to May 9.
right,
Yeah, but Deb, didn't they do this last year and it was a provisional based on, they hadn't had the paperwork in, and it was a provisional based on them getting that paperwork, and like that's how it went through?
Maybe that's what we did. We did a provisional approval.
Because
But
they
yeah,
had
but-
like the June 15th opening, and it was, like, I remember that. I'll text Ray if you want me to.
Okay. So I mean, and maybe Kelly, we can make sure that Ray gets in touch with you so you can kind of coordinate with him, whatever. Maybe it's not, he's just working with DOT and it's not getting to the board office or something.
right. I know that they have a new platform now for individuals to put in their applications, to submit their applications. So maybe that's part of the issue. That
Okay.
it's routed to the office yet.
Well, I can check with him, and then if he's getting the runaround, I'll just send him to you, and then we can figure out if we need to move the meet. I mean, moving the meeting, great. Anything we can do to make sure that he's all set for his opening, even if it's provisional approval or something, is fine too, if that works.
Okay.
I don't remember the technicalities, what we did last year.
I don't remember last week sometimes. So.
Yeah, I feel like it was able to get to the board, but it was like there was some piece of paperwork missing, so I don't know.
Okay.
Anyway, I move to end the meeting, I guess. I think that's the last.
Motion to
We
adjourn
can do new business.
seconded.
Wait, new business, new business, right? I just have to go through the formality.
Yeah.
All right. Hearing no new business, there's been a motion properly made and properly seconded. Everyone have a great evening. Talk to you soon.
Have a good night,
Bye.
everyone. Take care.
Good night,
Bye.
everybody. Bye.
Bye.